I'm Noche Miller, and this is Helldorf. Helldorf's in Morgan Gilding. We're going to take a look at his whorls today. I bought Helldorf sight unseen over the internet with video and all that kind of stuff. I'm pretty comfortable doing that usually. We can look at whorls, we can look at the writing in the video, and I train, so it's not a big deal for me to get an unstarted horse or one that's barely started and get some more riding on him. But with Helldorf, I didn't pay enough attention. It came as a bit of a surprise. I got video of him being ridden, and the video was absolutely awful. The people who bred him had sent him out for training to some lady they found on Facebook. They asked if somebody trained, and this lady volunteered, and that's not generally the best way to find a trainer. But the video I got of him, the riding was terrible, absolutely awful. And I thought, well, if he can put up with that, he'll be no problem. With some decent riding, decent training, we'll get him going good in no time. What I didn't realize, though, is that really bad riding, instead of getting him used to all sorts of flopping and banging and all kinds of stuff, had actually put him into a state of learned helplessness. That is where a horse learns that there is no sense in fighting, and so they just very quietly go about and do whatever you ask without any thought, without any emotion. And that seems like a good thing at first glance, but if they come out of it, if they're allowed to come out of the learned helplessness, then they are right back where they were when they started. They're still terrified of everything. Being in a state of learned helplessness doesn't mean that they aren't afraid. It just means that the fear is being suppressed by complete and utter hopelessness. Plus, when I looked at his whorl in the videos and the pictures, I saw a high whorl. I thought, great, an extrovert. It's a bit off to our right, a right brain extrovert. I can deal with that. I'm used to extroverts. What I didn't realize is that there's the high whorl here, and then there's a bit of feathering that comes down around to a bit of a fluff here. That is a sign of a diagonal double. In fact, that is the sign of a diagonal double. Side-by-side doubles can be at a bit of an angle, but there's still two distinct separate whorls. A diagonal double, usually the second whorl is barely noticeable, like this little spot here. It's just can just barely see it. And there's feathering that comes down around and connects the two. And that's how we know it's a diagonal double. A diagonal double shows a right brain introvert. So an introvert is a horse who holds all their feelings and emotions inside. They don't show them like an extrovert does. That doesn't mean they're not thinking all the time. It just means that they don't show us what they're thinking. They don't want to move their feet. They don't want anything. Hang out and eat and be loved on. But the right brain part of that means that, right, you're not starving. It means that he will be emotional, sensitive, and reactive. So we have an introvert who is quiet, withdrawn, and hides their feelings, but who is also extremely emotional. So he will sit there and internalize all his upsets. Instead of jumping and running and spooking, he'll get very still, very tense, and then when he finally can't handle it anymore, he'll explode. So we think that the explosion came out of nowhere, when really he's been telling us by shutting down, quieter and tenser, and we're often caught unaware if we aren't paying attention to that by the explosion. In his case, he will bolt, take off running, jump, spook. The diagonal double is the one whorl. There are no problem whorls. Every horse just needs dealt with in their own individual way that will suit them best. Diagonal double, to me at least, is the hardest to deal with. That could also be because I'm used to extroverts. We go really fast. Not like running, but like in our training. We zip through our training. We get a lot of stuff done fast. So I can't do that with Helldorf. And I don't always know what to do. But we're learning to deal with each other, aren't we? The other way to recognize an introvert is these ears. See how they're always just held slightly backwards? Even in his baby pictures that we have, his ears are usually just slightly back. He's not mad about anything. He's not upset. He's just an introvert. And that's how they hold their ears. So other than that, he's got a strong, pronounced nose bone, stubborn, determined, a bit of a convex profile, which means tough. It's pretty straight for steady. Kind of a rounded nose. He has his own ideas in life. His chin is soft and round. turn this way so you can see it. His chin is soft and round for a very uncomplicated temperament, which is kind of true. It's not his fault that we can't deal with the way he shows his emotion. He doesn't have a whole lot else going on here. The rest of his whorls are pretty basic. He tends to show worry lines. My husband says he's an emo horse. He's got these dark makeup all over his eyes, but they don't quite hide his worry lines over his eyes that come on whenever he gets upset. He's got a nice sized jowl. He can get plenty of air and go all day. Tiny little whorl on the front of his neck. He was a stud until just a few years ago, so he's got a big, thick neck. A little bit of a whorl in the throat latch. Keep his head in front of vertical. His crest whorls are right on top of his pole here, just behind the ears. His mane, there we go, that's the other interesting thing, is his mane. It splits right up here and is on this side of the neck. When he first came here, with all the stress of his training and stuff, it also split here and came over to this side. But it went back after he got here, and he's turned out to be mostly just a horse. I haven't had time to work with him as much as I should, so he mostly just hangs out in the pasture. And with all that time to go in the pasture, his body has gotten healthier, and his temperament has gotten happier. He's in a better place. When a mane is split like this, it always means that there's physical or mental issues. I used to think it was just a natural thing. The horses, sometimes their mane splits. But no. The more I see, the more I learn, the more I realize that every single time the mane is split like this, there's a physical issue. This would probably correlate to somewhere up in here. Huh, you think? When the mane is split, there's somewhere in the back that's hurt, somewhere in the body that's hurting. When I do some body work on him, he has major reactions everywhere the mane splits. Well, used to have major reactions everywhere the mane splits. Now he probably would just right here. Huh. So when you have a horse whose mane is split, always check for soreness, mental issues, because he hasn't had very much body work. Not enough to take care of any soreness in his body. That would have to just be time, relaxing out to pasture, being a horse, and settling down mentally. I've known quite a few horses with no body work, no anything, but sitting out happily in pasture, whose manes have gone from being divided like his in 2 or 3 places to all the way back on one side. So if you're trying to get your mane to lay straight, invest in body work. And I think that's all the interesting parts about Helldorf. Huh. Hey Helly, can you smile? 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 Good boy! What a good boy.